everyone, how's it going? Well, hey there, how the heck are ya? There are some big companies out there, okay, and I'm sure we've heard of them. These ones are in the tech field. Google, Facebook, Yahoo, all those huge companies out there that provide services to us that make our lives better. One thing that we don't really learn about them, though, is how they operate on the inside. What makes these companies tick? And when I say that, more importantly, what I'm asking is, what is the relationship between the company runners, the CEO, the founders, all of those people, the shareholders, and the relationship with all of the engineers that actually develop all of the products and everything like that? And I think it'd be fun to take a look. And there's actually an article that I just pulled up here. It's on Forbes. Pretty reputable, if you ask me, and it is by Rakeem Mahmood. She's a contributor, leadership strategy. It's called Google Put an End to Forced Arbitration and Why That Is So Important. We're going to take a look at the article in a second here, but first I just want to say, if you enjoy the video, please feel free to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I really appreciate it, but only if you enjoy it. Also, I'm recording this video with a Blue Yeti microphone. I have an affiliate link in the description, so if you want to support the channel or even start a channel of your own, feel free to click that link, check out the microphone, and it helps the channel out. Now first off, we need to define our terms here. What is forced arbitration? According to consumeradvocates.org, in forced arbitration, a company requires a consumer or employee to submit any dispute that may arise to binding arbitration as a condition of employment or buying a product or service. The employee or consumer, employee in our case, is required to waive their right to sue, to participate in a class action lawsuit, or to appeal. So essentially what that means is that when an employer hires somebody else and they have this as a clause in the employment practice, the employee usually can't sue the employer. They have to go into a council. They have to go into an arbitration council where someone decides. They don't go to court fully, they go to like a mini court, a side court. But in a lot of cases, the side court is owned and operated by the parent company, which gives a lot of people an unfair disadvantage. Now that being said, let's jump into the article, Google Put an End to Forced Arbitration and Why That's So Important. It begins, over the past few months, Google has made big headlines, not because of new tech rollouts, but for its response to massive organizing regarding a number of issues including workplace disputes. Google announced in November of last year that it would end closed-door negotiations, also called mandatory arbitration, what we defined, between those making sexual harassment accusations and those being accused. Last Thursday, the company announced that it would end the practice of mandatory arbitration for all employment disputes, following the lead of other companies such as Adobe and Intuit. So like we said before, what would have happened in Google if there was some sort of sexual assault, misconduct, now pretty much everything, is you would have accused somebody of it, and instead of going to court to sue anybody, you would have went in front of a council, a Google council, and they would have said, okay, is this legit, is this not legit? And they would have dealt with it within their own company. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about arbitration in particular now that we've defined it? Do you think if an employee goes to sue their employer or sue somebody else within the company, do you think the company should be able to set up their own little mini court inside to decide whether that's legitimate or not? Let me know what you guys have to say about that down in the comments. I really want to know what you guys have to say. The article continues and says this is a big deal, not only because one of the most powerful companies in the world is ending a practice that gives employers a huge leg up over workers, but also because of what it tells us about the power of organizing in the tech world. However, it is important to note who this policy leaves out: the independent contractors that make up approximately half of Google's workforce. In case you guys aren't familiar, what they mean by that is Google a lot of times will go to third-party companies in order to hire people to work in specific areas that they don't want to hire themselves. They could be salesmen that work inside of other stores. They could be people that they hire to work on other projects. So there's a big piece of Google's, that people that are on Google's payroll essentially that aren't actually Google employees but still work for the company. It goes on, the practice of mandatory arbitration came under scrutiny at Google last fall when the New York Times reported the company had paid large exit packages to a number of male executives accused of sexual harassment. The story prompted Google employees to organize a walkout that ended up including 20,000 workers. That's crazy. The organizers of the walkout brought specific attention to the use of mandatory arbitration in sexual harassment cases by including the issue in their list of demands. So it sounds like there was a pretty significant amount of pressure on Google to do this. The article then defines mandatory arbitration. They say also called forced or private arbitration is a policy that prevents employees from taking workplace disputes to court, and instead states that disputes have to be handled behind closed doors in a private arbitration process. Clauses dictating mandatory arbitration are built into employee contracts and often include confidentiality agreements that prevent the workers from making the terms of the dispute public. Disputes that have historically been subject to mandatory arbitration include sexual harassment, discrimination, minimum wage, and overtime violations. Wage theft. Basically any issues a worker might have with their employer. Yeah, that's put pretty well. That is pretty much everything that an employee would probably take their employer over to court for, so fair enough. But once again, what do you guys think? I mean, if the article doesn't really define it, there is a case to be made for arbitrations in that if a company does leave itself open, that door open to legal action, then it's very possible that a lot of employees could end up going after their employer and suing them for more money than maybe the problem was worth. So, for example, if maybe there was a little tiny slight, but the employee finds a way to take the company to court, sues them for multi-millions of dollars, and that company maybe has to lay people off. We don't know. So that being said, I mean, there is kind of both sides. What do you guys think? Which side would you say you're on? Do you think that Google should get rid of their arbitration, or do you think that that's something that's there to protect the company? It says mandatory arbitration is better for employers than employees, and functionally allows employers a get-out-of-jail-free card for any disputes that arise in the workplace. It is one of many policies in the trend of increasing employer power in the workplace relative to workers. Research has found that employees are less likely to win in arbitration than in court, and when employees do win, they win much less money. Then it says, while ending mandatory arbitration for sexual harassment cases speaks to the momentum of the #MeToo movement, of course because a lot of this was about sexual harassment, the broader policy change announced last week speaks to the power of collective action. The Google Waka organizers explicitly named ending forced arbitration as their #1 demand, and in December 2018, a spin-off group called specifically for ending forced arbitration more broadly across a bigger set of disputes and across all workers at Google, including contractors and temporary workers. These groups' success points to the real change that collective action and organizing can create in the tech sector. Yeah, I think that's majority true, and I will say this as well, I'm much happier with this result. I'm much happier with employees collectively organizing against their employer, as opposed to some sort of rule being passed down by the state, local, or even federal government. But that opens up even another door for debate. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think the government should have gotten involved in this before something happened, or do you think it's better that it naturally happened due to the employees banding together and working together to stop Google? Let me know what you think down in the comments. So the article brings back up the independent contractor thing. So it says, it is important to note the employees that Google's new policy leaves out, the independent contractors that make up approximately half the company's workforce. While ending mandatory arbitration for permanent employees at Google is a good step forward, it only goes part of the way towards addressing the real inequities that exist within the tech sector. Google has stated that companies they contract with do not need to comply with the policy change, though they will be informed about it. Then it says contractor workers include cleaners, food service workers, and drivers, not just the highly paid data scientists that generally come to mind when you hear the words Google employee. These employees do not receive crucial benefits such as health insurance, and independent contractors have long been prevented from sharing in basic employment rights and benefits. I'm kind of mixed about this. At one point, it is good that Google as an employer is helping out its employees by giving them more rights. One thing that is a little tricky though is when there is independent contractors, essentially what Google is doing is contacting other companies. So it's not like Google can just pass this wide-ranging rule that these other companies would now have to follow, and if they did do that, there's a high chance that a lot of these companies would say, oh wow, maybe this isn't worth it anymore, and a lot of people could end up getting, honestly, let go or laid off, or just lose contracts with different companies that were bringing in a lot of money. So there is another side to this. Alright, we've almost got her here. It says, without Google extending the end of mandatory arbitration to contractual employees, the result is an entrenchment of what already exists, an underclass of workers who don't see the full benefits of working for one of the most powerful companies in the world. These workers, who are likely to be Black and Latinx, are often the least well-paid and most vulnerable workers that Google employs. According to Google's diversity report, in 2018, Black workers comprised 1.5% and 5% of tech and non-tech jobs, respectively, and Latinx workers comprised 2.8% and 5.8% of tech and non-tech jobs, respectively. Then final paragraph here, by ending mandatory arbitration for full-time employees, Google's decision speaks to a broader conversation about power dynamics between full-time employees and their employers, but also between full-time employees and contractual workers. It remains to be seen whether Google's contractual workers will get to partake of the benefits extended to full-time employees, but the new policy change shows one clear path forward. While unionization remains relatively rare in the tech sector, last week's event made clear the power of organizing in affecting real change in the workplace. But it is important that the channel used to bring about the change are equitable and inclusive of all workers. Yeah, I mean, that sounds fine to me, that whole thing. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'm much more leaning on the side that things should happen organically, but like I said, I want to know what you guys have to say about it. One, should the government have come in and done something sooner? Or, you know, is it better that things happen organically? And two, should Google have extended this out across all planes, and should they have done this faster? Or is there really a benefit that Google should have held on to in holding on to arbitration? What do you guys think about that? Now, everyone who's watching, of course, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. It means a lot to me when you guys do that. It makes my day. Also, like I said in the beginning, I'm using the Blue Yeti microphone. If you guys have thought about starting up your own YouTube channel, or you're just kind of curious even to see what it looks like or how it operates or the cost of it or anything like that, I have an affiliate link down below. Now, the way that works, if you guys end up purchasing one, I get a bit of a cut of it, so it does end up helping the channel. So feel free to check it out, guys. Also, before I forget, we have some cool stuff going on, you know? So I have a Patreon link down in the description below, and it gives you access to some cool stuff. 1, behind the scenes. 2, rough draft skits, which I actually have some in there right now, about new inside the minds of different kind of videos that are coming out. And 3, it gets you access to the Discord server, which, I mean, you get to come in there and hang out with me, you know? That's fun. But thanks for tuning in, guys. You enjoy the rest of your night. Oh, hi. Oh, hey. Oh, hey, what's up? I was just enjoying one of my favorite books. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, of course, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe down below. As well, check out the links in the description. Make sure you check out my Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, all the stuff's in there. Go there. I love the feedback. You guys have a great day.